Well, hello everyone. Welcome to World at War Comics. Back again, my good friend, Mr. David Lucarelli, writer,
Hello.
creator extraordinaire, man. David, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good.
Well, it's good to have you back, man. You're always up to something, and it looks like you got a brand new title. But before we jump into that, I would love to kind of understand what's been going on since the last time that I saw you. We were just talking. I think the last time I saw you was at WonderCon, Paris Con, one of those we saw each other, and I was able to pick up the second volume of Tinseltown, which I've loved.
Oh, thank you, man. Thank you. Yeah, it's been kind of a crazy time since then, to be perfectly honest. The last year and a half, my day job is that I record actors and actresses in TV and film, and the whole Hollywood entertainment industry has been kind of in a bit of a mini Great Depression, for lack
Yeah.
of a better word. So, I haven't been as quite as productive creatively as I would like, just because I haven't had the extra cash to make that stuff happen. But that's changed now. I've got a new book coming out that I'm very excited about, and I actually just started working a new job that I'm kind of excited about too. So, between the two, things are going well.
Well, I'm glad for you, David. Is it still, I mean, not to get in your personal business, but is it still kind
Huh.
of in the Hollywood realm, or are you still kind of doing something similar?
Yeah, well, it's still working as an audio engineer, except that I'm recording audio books, and it's located in Hollywood still. But as a writer, it's actually very interesting because you get to help other writers tell their story, and you get to hear the stories as they tell them, and you kind of get to analyze what they're doing and how it works and why it works. So, more interesting use of words than, say, like your standard $200 million action movie, let's say.
I would think so, yeah. Well, I mean, I'm happy for you, and I'm glad that you were able to find something. And it looks like you're back creatively producing some stuff, which is pretty exciting. So I got it up on my screen right here, Doctor Zomba's Ghostly Tale.
Zomba.
I'm sorry?
Dr. Zomba.
Zomba,
Ghostly.
sorry, Dr. Zomba's Ghostly Tale. I mean, give us the elevator pitch on this, David, and let us know what we're kind of looking at here, and I'll start to share the screen if that's okay.
Absolutely. Yeah. So Dr. Zomba's Ghostly Tales is a modern horror anthology in the classic mode of EC Comics and the Twilight Zone. It's a double-sized, full-color floppy. Contains three stories that I wrote, art by four artists. There's a story by Henry Ponciano, Tinseltown artist. The cover that you see there is by Kyle Roberts, and
Nice.
he also does the introduction to each story. That's hosted by real life Spook Show Ghostmaster, Doctor Zomba.
I
Uh,
saw that. Yeah, it looks really cool, man. What a great idea.
yeah, yeah. And also features the rest of the cast of the Spook Show revival that I wrote and produced and put on, called Doctor Zomba's Ghost Show of Terror. Um, and so there's like I said, three stories in the past, present, and the uncertain future. And they're by Henry. Kyle does art. There's a story called Ghosted by a Polish artist named Anna Wieszczyk. And she's fantastic. And then the story that takes place in the future is by a guy named Brandon Perlow. That's called The Ghost in the Machine, and sort of deals with implications of where AI and man's relationship to technology may be headed. But anyhow, it's a really fun anthology. For those of you who don't know what spook shows are, they used to be done in the 1950s. They would put on like spooky magic and burlesque and a seance. At the end, there would be a climax where you're immersed in supernatural phenomena and total darkness. You can see, hear, feel, touch.
Yeah.
And there's been a revival in the last few years of this kind of thing. It's this sort of immersive theater before that was a term. And I'm one of the guys that helped revive it. So
That's
I
awesome.
tied it into the comic, and everybody who buys this comic will die, but you do get a free ghost inside every issue.
There's always a plus, David, with you. Always a plus, my friend.
Yeah.
Costly to get to the plus, but it's there. I'm going to scroll all the way to the bottom so that you can introduce us to Dr. Zomba because I did kind of take a look real quick before we
Sure.
jumped on, but I thought it was so cool. I believe that's Dr. Zomba right there. Am I
You are
correct?
correct, sir. That is actor David M. Beach, and he played Dr. Zomba. We did 10 sold out performances in Hollywood, and then we did three other performances at Midsummer Scream, which is a Halloween haunted house horror convention that happens in Long Beach. Um, and they actually awarded us the Screamiest Award when we were putting on the show in Hollywood. So they're fans, and I've been talking to them about the possibility of bringing back the show at their convention this coming summer. It's not a done deal yet, but wheels are in motion.
I would think if they awarded you with the Screaming Award, they would probably want you back for part two, right?
Oh yeah, they definitely want us back. It's just a matter of whether or not there's space on the schedule and stuff like that. But we're gonna have a booth. We'll be there in some form, one way or the other.
Is the idea, David, to take this show to other like horror conventions eventually, or what is kind of the long-term plan? Because once you get something like this in motion and it starts to take on a life, excuse me, a life of its own, how are you going to manage that?
Yeah, I don't know. We actually, funny that you mentioned it, came very close to putting it on last summer by the guy that put on ParisCon, Greg McWhorter. He's a big fan of the show, and he wanted to do it for the school district, but it ended up falling through just because he retired and they have some weird rules about how you can't be involved with any school activities for like the first year that you retire. And since he was the big believer in the show who actually knew what it was, we said, okay, well, we should probably postpone until.
Yeah, that's a bummer. That's a great show too. Is the convention, do you know, still going on with his retirement?
I don't know. I think there'll probably be like a year lull in it, in at least just because of that. But I suspect that you haven't heard the last of Greg.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a great show. If I remember correctly, it was free for everybody in attendance and got a lot of really cool students. And as a comic book fan, trying to reach younger readers, especially when you're competing with manga and then obviously Netflix and Amazon Prime and everything that's going on, it was a great opportunity to introduce people for the first time, maybe in some instances, to comics. So he did a really great job. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, yeah. So now you moved to Texas. What brought you to Texas?
Two of my four kids live here, and they both have children, and we want to be closer to our grandchildren. That's kind of the major driving factor. I will tell you, paying $2.50 a gallon for gas is a nice plus since we're here. But
Okay.
definitely the grandkids drew us here. I got a 1-year-old grandson and a 4-month-old granddaughter, and
Oh wow.
I'm at an age where I really don't want to miss a lot of that, the older I get. So it was a pretty easy decision for us. My son also moved here and he's a lineman. So it,
Oh,
it made a lot of sense that we would come down. And then my last daughter just followed us since we were all here. So it's really nice. Within a mile and a half, we all live very close to one another. And so it's kind of cool. It's been many years because all my kids are adults that, we have dinners once a week or if not more together. So it's kind of cool to get everybody back together. And I really enjoy that.
oh, that's great. What part of Texas?
San Antonio, north of San
Okay.
Antonio. Yeah. We actually just
Yeah.
had a Comic-Con last weekend called um, Hill Country Comic-Con, which was a lot of fun. It's in New Braunfels.
Okay.
Um, no one knows what that is normally when I say it, but that's where I live. It's like a suburb of San Antonio, north of San Antonio. But it was pretty cool. I will tell you, I have never seen so many Comic Cons in my life. Again, California's a big state. I'm sure they have plenty too, but there's
Sure.
literally something going on like every other week, all out, throughout Texas, which is pretty cool. I don't know how many I'll get to with work and everything, but I'm hoping that I can make the route and check out some of these because they're from real small to real big. I mean, Dallas Fan Expo is coming up, I think, at the end of May, and that's kind of Texas's San Diego, New York Comic Con. So that's the big one. But yeah, it's been cool so
Yeah.
far.
That's cool. Texas is known for doing everything big. I did AggieCon
Ooh,
in College Station, which I think bills itself as the oldest science fiction convention
oh, how cool.
like in the country. So that was cool.
I'll have to check that one out. Yeah, I've been Googling and trying to like create a calendar of events that, hopefully I could eventually get to, with work and everything. As balancing everything is sometimes it's tough.
It's a hard act. Yeah.
Hard at. Well, let's jump into the actual title, David, because that's why we're here, my friend.
Yeah.
This cover, by the way, looks so cool. I absolutely love it. Can you kind of walk us through the cover? Who's the artist on the cover? What are we looking at here?
Yeah. So that is Kyle Roberts, and up top there you have Dracula, who I think it might be so pissed off because the sun is burning a hole in his back. If you if you look there, he's probably not too fond of that. But and then dead center below him you have Doctor Zomba himself, and to the left is Eargore, who was played by actor Care Lordigan, and as you can see, he's holding a copy of I've always wanted to do an Infinity cover, so this is
Yeah.
my first chance to do that. And then to the right, our right is Cyrena, his lovely companion, who in real life is played by actress Tamara Torres. And I stole show will die. So I adopted that for the use of the comic. And then, like I said, free ghost inside.
I love it. I love it. So it is an anthology, but you are the writer for each of the different stories. Is that correct?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I wrote the whole thing.
That's awesome, man. And I love this idea of, grabbing different artists for each story. I'm sure that's really important when you are telling that story to have a certain look to it and feel so that
Sure.
it comes across. You feel pretty obviously very comfortable and happy with how it ended, I assume.
Oh yeah, I've been blown away by some of the art that I've gotten from the artists, and yeah, I definitely made it a point as you go down a little bit. So that's Doctor Zomba,
That's
uh,
awesome.
juggling skulls, and as he says, one way to get ahead, you know, and if you go down below him, you'll see that's the first page of art from Ghosted, and that's by Anna Wieszczyk. She's a Polish artist, uh, um, and I found her in the Nightmare Theater anthology, and I was really impressed with her work. She's actually got another Kickstarter um, that's happening right now where she illustrated the whole graphic novel that's kind of like Texas Chainsaw meets Hansel and Gretel. And I think that's called The Long Death, if I'm not mistaken. I
Okay.
apologize if that's not right. But anyhow, as you can see just from this page, she's got like a really interesting manga influenced style, but it's kind of like manga come fever dream. And because this story takes place in the realm of pickup artists and things like that, it's called Ghosted. I wanted to have a female artist for the story because I thought, getting a little bit of that feminine energy would really uh, help sell the story.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the art looks amazing. Looks really cool.
Yeah, and that's the page that features Cyrena, as you can tell.
Yeah.
Um, I think when we did the Ghost Show, we advertised, the see her do the dance that was banned in 60 countries, you know.
I love it. So, where did this passion for this kind of storytelling take place, David?
Well, I mean, I've always loved Halloween and the macabre and horror. I did the Children's Vampire Hunting Brigade with Henry. I kind of the Spook Show angle. I was at SDCC one year and I came across this book and that's I think in the bargain bins, and now it's funny because it's worth like $75 because it's out of print, but it's called The Ghost Masters. And it was like a real in-depth look at the whole history of the spook shows back from the early days of when, it was Phantasmagoria and things like that. And, you know, I just thought to myself, I'd love to see one of those shows, but there's nobody really doing them. So I think maybe I have to find the manuals and figure out how to do it myself so I can watch one. Um, And then this story here is called The Sin Eater,
Hmm.
and that's the one that has art by Henry Ponciano.
Yeah.
And Henry is such a great artist because he really adapts his style.
He's
See,
done
there's
such a good
Tinseltown.
job. No, I agree. I mean, I could vouch for Henry. I don't know the other two artists, but the art in these are chef's kiss, David. Chef's kiss.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's been the most satisfying creative relationship I've had. I've been working with him for 13 years and he's fantastic. But I was thinking about it. It's kind of like Frank Miller when he did Ronin versus like Daredevil versus Sin City versus 300. I mean, all of those books have very unique styles. It's almost like he invented his whole drawing technique every major project that he worked on. And that to me, is the sign of a truly great artist that they're if they're able to do that. I'm a huge Kiss fan, and if you look at like, a band that went from Dynasty, Unmasked to The Elder to Creatures of the Night, right? Album after, went from disco to power pop to power, basically inventing power metal and then going to doing like 80s metal. It really a totally different approach to songwriting and production and performance for 4 albums in a row. Henry is basically the visual equivalent to that. He can change up his style and make it enhance the story.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly different from what we're used to in Tinseltown, but equally as amazing. Just the detail that Henry
Yeah.
does, I think, is just fabulous.
And what you're seeing here is, this old rich man is dying, and the priest is trying to give him absolution, and he doesn't feel the weight of his sins lifting off his soul at all, and he basically, like gets out of bed as he's dying, and he says, "You amateur, get me the sin eater."
And how long have you been working on these three stories, David? How long have you been sitting on them and kind of, you know, touching them every once in a while before we got to this point?
Yeah, I mean, it's just began like anything else, the germ of an idea. I think I've been seriously working on it since last November.
Okay. Yeah, beautiful.
And here's Brandon Perlow's art for The Ghost in the Machine. As you can see, I mean, he's got like a very cool, almost heavy metal influence style. His day job, he's a visual effects artist and really smart guy. I was just at a little get together where I heard him hold his own in a conversation with a paleontologist. He somehow knew just about as much about paleontology as this woman he was talking to did, which was kind of amazing. And, he's because what he does for a living, he's on the cutting edge of technology. I thought he would be the perfect guy to illustrate a story that's so technologically based.
How much truth do you think in this story are we going to live out in the next few years?
Well, let's just say I'm happy that the book is coming out this year sooner than later because, I don't want to fall behind.
I mean, with this technology, you could be behind in the instant. It's so fast, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
How fun, though. Yeah, the art is incredible. I mean, look at that skeleton. Man, that's
Yeah.
incredible. Beautiful stuff, man. Beautiful stuff.
No, thank you. So this is my first foray into multiple covers.
Nice. You got to do it,
And
David. You got to do it, my friend.
I know, hey, when in Rome, right?
Exactly.
Um, and so as you can see, this is a little bit of an EC pastiche.
Yeah.
Big EC fan.
Yeah.
And that again, art by Henry Ponciano. That's just the risque version, not the not safe for work version.
Yeah. Very cool, though. You definitely get that vibe, which I love.
There's the photo cover. That's Robert Reynoso there in the lower right hand corner is Dracula. We've
Yeah.
actually had 3 Draculas, like one for every run of the show, but he was the most recent one, and he actually puts on his own one-man spook show himself every Halloween too. So
Oh,
he's
that's
he,
cool.
he's living it.
That is cool. That's an awesome cover. And then this one right here is the
There's
more,
the censored one,
yeah.
but you can fill in the blanks.
Yeah, very easily, by the way. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, listen, my background is as a rock musician, and
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of Dave Stevens, so it would be a hypocrite of for me to say like, oh, I don't, this is yeah, no. I mean, I love Dave Stevens, and I
There
love
you
the
go.
feminine form. So there you go.
100%. I do too. We're good on that. We're good. Looks awesome though.
Yep, those are the early bird perks. That was a book that was done by Kyle Roberts. Unfortunately, those are gone.
Yeah.
But
I had that same skateboard growing up, the
did
Vision.
you?
Yeah, the Vision Streetwear. Yeah. That was my first skateboard I ever got.
Right, free ghost. A lot of people ask me about the free ghost inside.
Yeah,
Okay,
please let us know.
I can't let you know, but I
Okay.
will say, uh, I will say this. When I was a kid, I was about 7 years old, and I went into a toy store with my dad, and they had these little black boxes about the, cube size of a small tissue box. And they all said, free ghost inside, simply open the box, take it home, and your new ghostly friend will, be your constant companion and all this kind of stuff. And as a 7-year old, I was very excited at this prospect. So I was like, oh my God, I want one. And it was like $5. And my dad, ever the cynic, realized that this, and tried to tell me that this was a gag gift, that there actually was not a ghost inside the box, and made one of the poor workers at the toy store tell me that this was in fact not what it purported to be. And I was beside myself. I was like, well, how could they say that if it's not true? So all I can tell you is that the free ghost inside our issue is not that.
Very good. Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, it's false advertising.
Yeah.
And here we're back to Dr. Zomba and the rest of the cast here. Here's Serena.
Yep. Yep. Cyrena. Yep. And there's ear gore.
That's so cool. That's crazy looking though. That might give you some nightmares later.
Right, right. And then I give a little background on the Spook Show. There's a whole collector's market, by the way, for these Spook Show posters. If you search for like Facebook groups, because they're really quite artistic, and they're great at over promising things that they could never possibly deliver. Most of these shows were what were called suitcase shows, and they were maybe, three, four people in the company making these shows happen, but they would be like 10,000 ghosts will descend upon you, and monsters will roam throughout the theater, and all this stuff that they kind of pulled off, but not quite the way they said.
Yeah, that's so cool. So at the like within the title, you have some examples of these, or is this
No, I just wanted to give the audience a little background. Now we're coming up on some videos here. If people wanted to see a little bit of a taste of what my ghost show was about, then you can watch
nice?
those videos.
That is cool. And these are, I assume, on your YouTube page too, David?
Yes.
Perfect. So we'll make sure below we're going to put the link for the Kickstarter, the link to your YouTube, so that way people can go and watch this. Obviously, they could go to the Kickstarter and watch it as well, but we'll make sure everything's down there below to make it super easy for everybody to enter into the Spook Show realm and get a real kind of taste of it before they get their title. I love it.
Good. Funny story. You see that girl there in the
Yeah.
background?
Uh-huh.
Okay,
With the blindfold,
blindfolded.
right?
Yeah. So she was in the audience at the Ghost Show. She was a friend of the director, a former student of the director. And so, there's a segment during the show where we ask for a volunteer to win a real dead body. And I'm not going to say what that was, but she volunteered, and she gets blindfolded and she gets her dead body. Few years later, I wrote another play that I cast, and I ended up casting her in the play that I wrote and directed called Crude. So small world, really.
Small world. That's awesome. Very cool.
And this is, I talk a little bit about the comic book Spook Show connection. So one of the biggest guys was Dr. Neff. He put on probably one of the biggest spook shows that was pretty legit in the 50s. And I found out that he would hand out a program at his spook show that was basically a comic book and illustrated. And then he himself appeared in a whole series of comic books as himself. Um, as you can see, this is an example, Ghost Breakers,
Yeah.
right? And conceit was that criminals, much like in Scooby-Doo, were making false supernatural occurrences to try to dupe their innocent victims. And he would be the ghost breaker who would come in and debunk them, a la Houdini.
I love it. That's so cool. How fun, man.
Yeah. Now, if I do a sequel to this, I might just have to do a little crossover where Abigail Moore from Tinseltown becomes a ghost breaker herself,
I mean, it would make perfect sense.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, I think it would. I think it would. I mean, you've got to have already, if you just mentioned that, that means you've already been kind of dabbling in it.
I might have been thinking about it.
Yeah. Have you put anything on paper yet as far as what that would look like or not yet?
Not yet, not yet. But I mean, I will just say from research, Houdini did have a female assistant that he used to send ahead to go ahead and bust seances and things like that.
That's awesome. Crazy world that a lot of people probably have not been, you know, entered into yet. So this will be a fun experiment and experience for people to jump into this title and kind of get into that feel of that spook show. Because I've never been to one myself, so I think that'd
Yeah,
be fun.
yeah. I mean, there's a few people that are putting them on throughout the country. If you Google it, you can find them. There was
Mm.
actually one my wife and I went to downtown this past Halloween that was put on by Exoticon and magician Rob Zabrecki. Rob actually came to our show and was a fan of our show, so I went and saw his show, and it's always interesting. I mean, to see a different performer's take on what a spook show should be, and this right here, we're on to something that I think is really fun that hasn't gotten a lot of attention.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
Doctor Zomba's Roll the Bones game. So I was looking at some of the spook show sites, and they had this paraphernalia that was kind of spook show dice that were giveaways, I think, to advertise the show, where they had like a monster's face on each side of the dice. And I thought, well, that's interesting, but what wouldn't be even more interesting if you made a game out of it? So what I did is I kind of assigned a numeric value to each image, and I came up with like some basic rules. Like if you get doubles, that's minus all those points, and everything else is plus. First person to 43, the death number wins. And then I also wrote like 2 pages of sort of whimsical instructions where it explains the significance of every combination that you could possibly roll and why it's worth what it is.
That's awesome. I have a feeling you had a lot of fun with this one.
Oh, I really did. I really did. Yeah. So if you go down, so for instance, if you were to roll Dr. Zomba and the
No.
ghost, what would happen is Dr. Zomba decides to treat his ghostly workers to a night on the town. It finds much to his chagrin, it's like herding cats. When half of his ghosts fail to come back, he just sends Irgor, Dracula, and Cyrena out to make some more. So that's it.
I love it, man. It sounds so fun.
And
That
then,
is
obviously we have the print tier, we have the t-shirt tier. The t-shirt on the right is the t-shirt from the actual Ghost show.
how cool, man.
And we did have 3 opportunities to get your face drawn into the book, but those are all already gone.
Oh, good for you though. That's awesome, man. It's always a fun thing to add to your Kickstarter.
Yeah, yeah, we like to do that.
Yeah, very fun.
And you can get Tinseltown volumes 1 and 2.
Love it.
There's tiers or as add-ons.
Yeah. Hey, you can get a sample of Tinseltown, which I'm telling you, you'll love.
Yep. If you're curious about Tinseltown, it's a period crime drama about one of the first female police officers in Hollywood. Also a tribute to my mother, who was a police officer. Um, and you can download the first 20 pages or of the first volume or first 15 of the second there. Take a little sample, see if it might be for you.
Yeah, it's so cool.
Also, the first horror book that Henry and I did together, Children's Vampire Hunting Brigade, 3 volume set inspired by the real life Gorbals vampire incident in the 1950s. Hundreds of school kids went looking for a vampire in this one cemetery, considered mass hysteria in real life. In our book, they find it, they form the brigade. Half century later, there's a couple of juvenile delinquents drinking in that graveyard on the night the vampires come back.
I love it, man. That's awesome.
Yeah. And you can download a sample of that as well.
Beautiful. I got some videos too.
Yeah. Werewolves is a book I didn't have much to do with, but Brandon, who did Ghost in the Machine, is also a publisher. So he has an imprint called New Paradigm Studios. They did books like Watson and Holmes, which is an African American version of Sherlock Holmes, which is great. But anyhow, they also put out this all ages book called Werewolves, and it's a great book. And Brandon asked me to do the audio design for the trailer for it, so I did that. I do have a little tangential connection, and you can get that as part of the Kickstarter as well. Save a couple bucks off cover price, and it's signed by the author and Brandon.
Oh, how cool. That's awesome. And there's that trailer you're talking about.
The trailer that I did the sound design for.
That's so cool.
And then there's some miscellaneous other little horror things that I was involved with. Cthulhu's Hard to Spell, The Terrible Twos. Henry and I have a story in there called The Old Gods Ain't What They Used to Be, which is a funny little thing. And then Fractured Scary Tales is a book that's put out by a friend of mine named Kevin. And it's kind of in the Warren 1970s monster magazine, like parody type stuff. Very lots of terrible puns. And I've got a story in there. Dreams of Decadence actually was the first thing I ever published. I have a short story in there called What We Did to Lugosi.
Oh, wow.
And then Winter Horror Days is a prose horror anthology that I had the pleasure of editing, and I wrote the introduction, and I've got a story in there. But it's also full of winter holiday themed horror short stories by some real heavy hitters, Stoker Award winners like Bob Cabine, Lisa Morton, who was the president of the Horror Writers Association, David Gerald, who wrote Star Trek: The Trouble with Tribbles and created Land of the Lost.
Wow.
So, some heavy writers.
Yeah, for sure. Wow. Incredible.
Yeah.
A lot to offer too.
Yeah. And, before I was a comic book writer, I was a musician. So I have a
Yep.
little music bundle in my band there. We still put out the occasional song. We're not really active, but we did put out 3 albums in the 2000s. If you're into Kiss, Motley Crue, Guns N' Roses,
Yeah.
you might want to check us out.
Absolutely. I have. Yeah. That's why I asked about your guitars. Usually you got guitars behind your back, on your wall,
I
right?
know, I know.
Yeah. And here you are right here,
That's me.
huh?
A few pounds skinnier, but
Hey, that's the way it goes. Trust me. And
yeah.
there we are. A little bit
And
of
this is all
Halloween.
all about us. And I
Yep.
should mention too, in addition to Kyle Roberts there, that the fellow illustrated on his right there, Michael Woods.
Mhm.
Uh, he's Kyle's colorist, and he
Oh, okay.
does a fantastic job as well. I sometimes I forget to mention him, and I really shouldn't because they
Yeah.
work together as a team.
Very cool. And here's the artist for that one story, right, from Poland. Very
Yeah, yeah, Anna, she's terrific.
Anna. That's what I was trying to see. Yeah. Very cool.
There's Henry's self-portrait.
Yeah.
He's
He's
real
so
shy.
good, man. He's so good.
There's Brandon. And down there, that's one of my favorite panels from the book,
That's
and that was one that I just told Henry very very minimal instruction. I just said, "Have fun with it," and I think I need to start doing that more often because he came back with this, and I was like, "Oh my God, that looks
that's awesome.
fantastic!"
That's really cool. Well, awesome, David, man. I will make sure we blast this everywhere. Hopefully, I could, a couple of our listeners will jump in and help out. I mean, you're right on track, man. Almost at 100 backers too, which is amazing. 11 days to go, and you got less than $500 to hit the goal. So,
Yeah,
I think you're well on your way, my friend. Not to jinx or anything, knock on wood, but
fingers
yeah,
crossed.
yeah, you're getting in out of the valley of death, and now you're going to the home stretch, and that's usually where you pick up what you need to kind of at least get to your goal. But everyone who's ever tried to create a comic book knows it costs more than that to put a comic book together. So
Oh
anything
yeah,
we
oh
could do to
yeah.
go above and beyond, I think would be very helpful for your next projects, and I think that's really important.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. We're not there yet, but fingers crossed. I feel pretty confident we're going to get there. Can't wait to share this book with everybody. And then after that, I'm going to start working on some more Tinseltown. So,
I love it. I love it. Incredible. I will put all this, like I said, below for everybody watching. Get over there. Make sure you back David with the Kickstarter. I'm going to make it really easy for you to find. But yeah, this looks like a lot of fun, David. I'm really happy to see you back in the writing table doing more because you're an amazing writer, my friend.
Well, thank you, my friend. It's
Yeah.
so good to talk to you again too.
Yeah.
Sorry that you left our state, but I've been to Texas. I like Texas.
Yeah.
I went to College Station in Austin, and yeah.
Austin's a cool spot. I'm about an hour from Austin, which is kind of nice. So.
Okay, well, you can always see great live music and get great food there. So
Absolutely. And I still love California, so I know I'll be back, but hopefully we'll bump into each other at a future San Diego Comic-Con or WonderCon next year. I always enjoy seeing you. But David, congratulations on everything, man. It's so good to catch up with you. And congratulations on the Kickstarter. Everybody get out there. Dr. Zomba's Ghostly Tales. Get out there and back it. This looks like a lot of fun. Three separate stories, three different artists. You're going to get an amazing experience when you're getting through this. And it sounds like there's a lot of other fun things that you could add too, which is pretty amazing. But David, I really appreciate you. Thanks for coming on. My show's nothing without folks like you, so I appreciate you very much.
my pleasure, man. Great to see you. Thank you for having me.
You bet, David. Have a great one, my friend. Talk soon.
All right, take care.
See you later.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.